Thanks so much, Chris. Now, if you're just joining us, we're now just about 4 minutes until the liftoff of the 8th test flight of Starship. As we reported earlier, range and weather are both very green, super green, if you will, and everything is looking good. Propellant loading continues to happen. We're going to be closing out very soon on both stages of Starship.
Yeah, we're almost fully fueled on our tanks. We're going to see that closeout coming in just about 30 seconds on ship. So that's both the main and the header tanks. And then about 30 seconds later on booster. Once prop load is complete, we got just shy of 1 million pounds of liquid propellant. That's liquid oxygen, liquid methane onto both vehicles. All of our ground systems will do what's called pushbacks. They'll clear all those feed lines. We're not continuously replenishing the propellant on board Starship or Super Heavy. That's why we essentially have several minutes where we can hang out at that T-minus 40 hold point before we start to run into issues with temperatures or just those LOX levels, or that LOX level on the booster is one of the main things that we watch. So we're also going to do a couple of final checkouts. We'll do one final one of the thrust vector control, the TVCs on the booster. We'll see them hopefully do a little bit of a wiggle test. The first one comes at about 1:40 seconds before launch, and then the last one comes right as we pass that T-minus 40 gate. Again, if we need to hold, which we held a couple of times on Monday, we can do so at that T-minus 40 second. We're not currently tracking any issues that would hold us there, but if we do run into that, we can hang out for a couple minutes.
That would be the point in the countdown, as we mentioned on Monday. That T-minus 40 second point is when we can pause to hold for final checkouts or pressurizations if necessary. But once we pass that T-minus 40 second mark, a number of things are going to occur in rapid succession. The ground spin and ignition systems will come up to flight pressure. The ship goes to internal power. And after that, the quick disconnect or QD arm lockout, that's removed in preparation for retraction shortly after T0. Once we pass T-minus 40 seconds, as we saw on Monday, we had the ability to recycle the count under certain conditions back to that T-minus 40 second mark and hold there to assess what happened and if we're able to proceed to T0.
And like we said, that we can hang out at T-minus 40 for several minutes before we start running into some limits, essentially. On our propellant on board. There are a couple of other things, like if we pass the T-minus 10 second point and the water starts to flow in that flame deflector and we scrub, that's automatic scrub for the day. Oh, there's our TVC, our thrust vector control checkout. It's got a little bit of a wiggle there on those inner Raptor engines, those 13 inner ones, which are going to be used for that boost back burn and the landing burn. So cool to see those.
Yeah. I love that shot. We don't have that on Falcon. And it's just so cool to see really the business end of the Super Heavy booster.
10 seconds away from that T-minus 40 hold. We'll see. All right, we are going to hold at T-minus 40. We're watching the temperatures on the ship right now for the ship fuel. Sounds like they're working through that. We might be able to release that hold shortly. All right, sounds like we're going to be able to reset those holds, not tracking any other holds. And clock is rolling.
And the clock is rolling once again. We're now T-minus 30 seconds till the liftoff of the 8th flight of Starship.
Our flight director, Joe Schleicher, today is go for launch. Let's listen in as he takes us through the final seconds of the count.
T-minus 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got the call. Vehicle pitching down range.
a little over 40 seconds into the flight. We are seeing 33 out of 33 Raptor engines ignited. Boosters pushing us downrange over the Gulf. Next milestone coming up in just under 10 seconds is going to be max Q, that max aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
All right, so we're through max Q. That's the heaviest stresses it's kind of seeing on the way up. Wow, that was pretty incredible.
I'm still recovering. That was amazing. Beautiful views of the vehicle on ascent, pitching downrange away from the launch tower.
Next thing coming up is hot staging. So we're going to look for 6 engines to ignite on ship while we're still attached to the top of the booster. We'll see all but those 3 center engines shut down on booster.
We're hearing the initial call that we are go for booster catch back here at the launch tower. Coming up now on hot staging, the ship's engines will ignite while still attached to the Super Heavy booster, and also while Super Heavy booster will still be under power itself. The clamps holding the 2 stages together are going to release, and Starship second stage engines will
Booster
ignite.
engine cut off. Ship engine startup. Stage separation. Boost back burn startup.
There we go. Ship engines, all 6 Raptors ignited. We're doing that boost back burn. Looks like we got 11 of the 13 that we command for that, so that's going to start sending the booster back. We are still go for booster return, even with 2 Raptors out during that boost back. We can do a full duration one. But looks like we got a ship, 6 engines heading into space, and then we got a booster hopefully on our way back to Starbase. How's everything going in Hawthorne, Chris?
Everything is looking good. The crowd eagerly followed that ascent and now watching the booster coming back. So as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen here, that is ship continuing, and that's a great view of ship continuing on its way to space. They're looking, that's inside the camera, inside the aft skirt, looking at the Raptor vacuum and the sea level engines, the sea level ones there in the center of your screen under our T+ clock. You can see our boost back burn. We're down to 3 engines on the boost back burn. And you can see ship on the right-hand side of that telemetry with 6 engines lit, continuing its ascent to orbit, already over 100 kilometers in altitude. The booster 87 kilometers in altitude and continuing its trek right now back to the landing site and catch site. There's a shutdown. And we just heard a good call out for boost back shutdown. The next thing we should see on our screen is the separation of the hot stage from the Super Heavy booster. We jettisoned that because we do not need it for the landing, but on future iterations of the Super Heavy, that hot stage ring will be incorporated into the booster and we will get it back. But for today, you can see it on the right-hand side of your screen there, just separating off of from the right-hand side of the booster. You can also see the booster doing its liquid oxygen dump there, which is exactly what we would expect for it to do as the booster gets itself configured for the landing here. Now, meanwhile, Starship will continue to coast after it reaches orbit for about 40 minutes or so up to an altitude of 214 kilometers, but it's still got a ways to go there, currently accelerating past 7,500 kilometers per hour there in velocity. And just look at those great views of the booster coming back. The Gulf coastline there just looks absolutely gorgeous.
Starship is on a nominal trajectory.
And there we hear nominal trajectories all around. And Dan and Kate, we're at 5 minutes, 15 seconds here into the flight. Everything looking good for the Super Heavy and for Starship today. What's it like there at Starbase as we get ready to catch?
It was incredible, Chris, to be able to see the mock diamonds with my own eyes. That was amazing. We are standing by for return of booster back to the launch tower. We have heard that we are go for the catch of the booster.
Yeah, this coming from one of our long-range tracking cameras, we're able to see the hot stage separate and fly away. So coming up in just about 30 seconds, we're going to look for the landing burn. We're going to command those 13 inner and middle ring engines to turn on. 13 initially, they bleed off all of that velocity as we're slowing down from supersonic speeds, eventually moding down to only 3 engines for that precision flight into the tower.
Right now, booster using its 4 hypersonic grid fins to help guide itself through this atmospheric entry back for its precision landing at the launch site.
Enciende.
Once again, we're going to ignite first the center 13 engines. You can see that coming up here momentarily.
Uno apagado, un motor apagado. Ojo.
This is going to come down to 3 engines as the booster slows down for its landing. And we just heard the sonic boom.
No, impresionante.
What an incredible sight to see the super heavy booster gliding down into the chopstick arms once again.
Increíble, hermano.
Stuck the landing.
Wow. That will never get old.
All right.
Wow.
We saw 12 out of 13 light for that landing burn. Booster still able to make its way with that final precision burn on the 3 engines in for the tower catch. So booster caught. Meanwhile, keeping an eye on ship. Still got 6 Raptors burning. Those are going to continue for about another minute until we'll get to the Starship engine cutoff. Really cool view. Again, a million shout outs to all of our avionics team who make these cameras possible for us. That's looking right down inside essentially the skirt area of ship, where you can see a pretty good view of all 6 Raptors, especially those 3 inner ones, one of which we're going to hopefully relight a little bit later.
No, perdí un motor. No.
And we just saw some engines go out.
Otra falla para el Starship.
It looks like we are losing attitude control of the ship.
Ship FTS is saved.
So we're still getting video down from the ship. You can see we've lost several engines and we've lost attitude control of the vehicle. So we'll continue to stick with it.
For those of you that just recently joined us, we had a successful liftoff of the 8th test flight of Starship, followed by a successful stage separation. We saw the booster, actually, you can see it just behind us here. The booster had a successful catch back at the tower. Unfortunately, it seems as though we lost the attitude control of the ship. We are standing by as we listen in with the teams on the nets to understand what information we're able to provide you. We will provide that as soon as we are able, but it's pretty incredible to take a moment and see the booster just behind us. Certainly a different view than last time.
And at this point, we've essentially lost contact with the ship. We're no longer receiving telemetry at this moment. So we were only about 20 seconds away or so from the end of that ship ascent burn. We saw several of the engines start to cut out. Once you lose enough of those center engines, you're going to lose attitude control. And so we did see the ship start to go into a spin, and at this point we have lost contact with the ship. So we're going to listen in for a little bit. I think it's pretty obvious we're not going to continue the rest of the mission today, but just give us a couple more minutes. We'll bring you more information as it comes in.
Se perdió el Starship.